Hi there, and thank you for checking out this video about employee wellbeing webinars. My name is Sarah Maud. I'm the founder of the Mind Solution International. And if you're thinking about running employee wellbeing webinars, then in this video, I'd like to share with you two pieces of advice from my own experience of having delivered employee wellbeing webinars to some of the biggest organisations in the world. Now, from my experience, I love delivering employee wellbeing webinars. They are one of my favourite things to do because over the last 12 years, I've held in the region of about 10,000 one-to-one sessions with people. So for me, it's an absolute joy to be able to condense all of that knowledge, that wisdom, that experience, and to be able to share it with your people. To be able to share with them some of the most leading edge techniques and tools that can have such a profound impact on people's mindset, on their health and their well-being. But if we think about the whole topic of well-being, if we think about the topic of mental health, if we think about the topic of resilience, it's so vast. So one of the first pieces of advice that I would encourage you to think about before you launch into delivering any kind of employee wellbeing webinar is, what is it that your people actually need? So quite often I get organisations getting in touch and saying, we'd love to have a webinar on stress management, we'd love to have something on burnout, we'd love to have something around mental health. And the question that I always ask is, how do you know if that is what your people need? How do you know that it's what your workforce need? And so one of the places that I would encourage you to look at before going ahead with any wellbeing webinars is to look at your HR data. If you collect HR data, which most organisations do, is identify what are the themes that you're noticing through your HR data that let you know what people are struggling with. So for example, if you know that people are struggling in your organisation with burnout, then yes, it would be great to be able to provide them with the knowledge and the wisdom and the insight about how to A, resolve that burnout, and B, how to prevent that in the long term. If you're looking at your HR data and you can see that actually there's been a real spike in the number of people that have had to take time out because of anxiety, then again, that's giving you some data, it's giving you some insight about what is going to be of most value. It might be that you've been running surveys, or within your employee engagement surveys, you've been asking people questions about health and well-being and what it is that they would like to see. Now, people don't always know what it is that they need, and certainly through consultation we can give you some insights and some guidance about what topics to run that are going to have the most impact on your workforce. But looking at the data can be a really helpful place to start. What I would also encourage you to do is to talk to your mental health first aiders if you have them within your organisation. Now, they're not going to be able to share with you anything that's confidential, but what they will be able to do is to give you some insights into what it is that they're seeing. What are the themes that people are experiencing? Because when it comes to mental health, when it comes to well-being, it's not just about how we take care of ourselves. It's not just about understanding the mind and mindset, but it might be that actually what you're noticing is that there's been a significant number of people that are just dealing with some life challenges. They're dealing with changes. Now, that could be anything from grief, the number of people that have recently experienced bereavement and loss. It could be about the life changes that we go through as human beings, like menopause. It could be any number of things, but tapping into the mental health first aiders. What are the themes around the conversations that they're seeing that can direct you towards actually what's going to be of most value to people? So looking at that data rather than just sort of, a finger in the wind of, I think we probably need to do something around stress, for example, is going to give your people what they need, but it's also going to give you as an organisation a much greater return on investment. Second piece of advice is consistency. Now, if people are struggling within the organisation, or you want to give them some content, some knowledge that's going to be of great value to them, the joy about running employee wellbeing webinars is that they can be short, they can be experiential, they can be incredibly high impact. But what's going to make more of a difference is if you deliver consistent webinars. So, for example, we have a contract with the Department of Corrections in Wisconsin, who we've been delivering a monthly webinar to for the last 18 months. And what I've noticed is the amount of people who come to those webinars every single month. And so every single month, we're given the opportunity to continue to build on their knowledge, because we need to hear something more than once for us to be able to create new understanding, for us to be able to create the synaptic connections in the brain. It's a little bit like marketing. For any organisations that market, which I'm sure pretty much everybody does, we don't just put something out there once. We put it out there consistently. We are consistently sending a message, because the brain needs to hear something around about 15 times, 7 to 15 times before we create those connections in the brain. So you can have a wonderful employee wellbeing webinar that's so well received. It's full of insight, it's full of inspiration. People feel like, this was great value. They can see what they need to do differently. But, chances are the next month they might have forgotten about that. So if you have an employee wellbeing webinar program where you can get people in front of whoever's delivering your training on a regular basis, you're going to have far, far greater impact. And that's certainly one of the things that we've seen with the Department of Corrections, because the number of people that have shared with us through feedback, through evaluation forms, that actually they've overcome things like anxiety because they are hearing the messages that we're feeding them. We're building that insight. We're continuing to share really leading edge tools and techniques that have helped them experience such a fundamental shift in their mindset that actually the place that they were 18 months ago is very, very different to where they are now. So consistency is such a big, big thing. And it's also going to give you a much greater return on investment, because on average, you're looking at paying about £1,000 or about $1,200 US dollars for a webinar. So as an organisation, you also want to make sure that you get the greatest result from that. But if you're investing in a long-term program, then you will also be able to measure the effectiveness of a longer term program than you would be able to with just, say, a one-off webinar. And there's numerous ways in which you can measure the effectiveness of your wellbeing programs and employee wellbeing webinars, and we can certainly give you some advice about the best ways to measure that when we work with you. So hopefully that's given you some insights. If you're curious about the kind of employee wellbeing webinars that you would like us to deliver to your people, then do get in touch and book a consultation, and I will look forward to speaking to you very soon. Bye bye for now.